Let's talk about an interesting niche company here that just had earnings. FlexQube. This is a tiny Swedish company with emphasis on tiny, and they design robust carts for material handling here. We will look at the market for these as well, because that is a potential red flag for investors. Hey, I'm Andreas. I've been investing for over 10 years, and in today's video, let's talk about FlexQube. This company has been punished recently, and we see that the stock price is less than 100 million Swedish kroner. You can divide this by roughly 10 to get the dollar price. Right, so this is less than $10 million. Absolutely tiny company here. 42 employees currently. And this company exports a lot to North America, in this case, for example, the United States. And as we know, with the current macroeconomic climate, there's a big tariff risk. This is weighing down stock price, clearly, because if Sweden is all of a sudden hit with a big tariff, then the small companies like FlexQube will be the ones that hurt the most. Other companies with scale in distribution can circumvent these tariffs in different ways, just shipping a almost fully assembled product and then assembling it in the United States, basically dodging the tariff. That's one business practice. But if you're a tiny company, then you don't really have that luxury. It becomes a lot more difficult. So potentially a red flag here in this case. I looked a bit at the earnings, and in terms of earnings per share, quite negative, although this never tells the full story, and I think we should be very careful just looking at earnings per share, because these can be manipulated with accounting. The cash flow statement is usually a lot better to see the health of a company, and we can indeed see here that, for example, here the latest quarter they had positive cash flow from operations, negative cash flow from investing, right? So growing, of course, tiny company, and then negative cash flow from financing as well. So this means basically paying back loans. If this is positive, then it means taking more loans. It could also mean, in the case of dividend stocks, that dividend has been paid. And cash position quite strong, free cash flow positive in this case. So even though earnings per share very negative, we don't get a price to earnings ratio as a result. Investors love to look at that for valuation, but we can see that cash flow from operations positive and free cash flow indeed. So some accounting tricks are going on. No big surprise there. Reducing taxes, very common in Sweden, very common. So quite the interesting company. We have a red flag in terms of the export market. We have some green flags in terms of profitability and the business generating cash and being niche and small. So this could be an interesting company to look at, to have on the watch list, to listen in on the earnings calls and do your own due diligence if you're interested in perhaps getting good returns from a microcap stock. Alright, that's been it for this video, and as always, I hope you guys make a ton of money, whatever investments you decide to make. Take care now, bye bye.